Hello and welcome to my tutorial on implementing a basic quest. In this video series, what I will try to do is just walk people through what you have to do in order to create a new project and stitch the most basic building blocks together in order to implement a quest. I'm not going to go into any one of the components in real detail. This is just to kind of help people get going with the big picture of putting the pieces together, and hopefully it will be of some benefit. So the first thing that we're going to do is going to create a new project. So we'll create a new one. It's going to be an adventure, story mode, and we're just going to call it Launch Day Crisis. After our new project is finished being created, it's going to prompt us to create a new level. When you create a level, you can either borrow from some inherited levels. Since we have the shared library by default, there are some levels here that you could use, but for our purposes, we're going to create our own. So we'll hit create, and we're just going to start with a plain old empty level, and we'll call it start level. Okay, once the level is created, we're going to want to create a new terrain, so we do that by left-clicking on the terrain panel. Once it's up, we can just click Create New here, and we're just going to leave the size at 1 patch. We need to assign a default material to the plane, so we do that by bringing up the Resource Manager here. I've already started filtering on tr_base in order to find some good base materials, and if I left click on the base material and then I click the arrow, that will assign the terrain to the new plane that we've just created. Once we do that, we can switch over to the viewport and we can see our new terrain. And now that we have a level with a texture assigned to it, there are a couple things that we will need to do in order to make it usable. I'm going to bring up our root templates, and we're going to filter on triggers. We're going to add a start point, and this will be used when we go into game mode to determine where our test character is going to start. Second thing we're going to need is an AI seeder. This is used when we generate AI for the terrain. The AI is basically something that will inform the game about the physics of this terrain. Once we put one down, we're going to come over to the AI grid panel and we're going to hit full generate. We'll hit OK. Once we do this, if we select show grid, this will show us what parts of our terrain are walkable and not walkable. Red means that a character can't walk there, and green means it can. So if we were to start adding some large placeable objects, or if we were to start shaping the terrain in such a way that the elevation would not be naturally walkable, you would start to see more red areas. But as it is, we have a nice big flat walkable plane. So we will save. We will reload the level. And if we go into game mode and click on a character, we will see that we can walk around our new area. For the sake of this tutorial, I am not going to go into detail about terrain editing. There are a couple of reasons for that. The first one being that the tutorials from Divinity Original Sin 1 editor are actually very relevant. If you go to the Larian forums and you go under Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition and you go under mods, there are some pinned topics there that show tutorials from the first game, and a lot of the terrain editing is similar. Some of the buttons have moved around, but things like shaping the terrain, texturing, adding vegetation, making walls and buildings, a lot of that stuff is the same. The second reason is because I've already seen some other modders making some additional videos that are very good and helpful there. So The point of this tutorial is just to kind of put the large picture together instead of going into detail in any one, so we'll just do what we have to in order to make something going.